Hello, it's Jesse here, and we got some stuff back from the buy shop. It's the front fork parts for my 1940 UH. Let's check them out. All right, so here's the spring fork. Nice and shiny black, like it was originally. All these old forks were black back in the day. And they just primed the tops here where the springs sit. That's nice. I asked them to do that. Hopefully it was a good call. I don't see any runs or anything, or any sort of lesions or anything, or problems with it. And whatever weird spots there are, looks like they wipe off. So get that nice and cleaned up. So let's check out the rigid fork here. All right, look at that. This looks nice. Nice and shiny. I masked off the top coat for this and left it epoxy primer. And they masked off the center bar here where it mounts to the front fork, or front fork part of the frame, the neck. That's the proper term. Sorry about that. And they masked off the part right here for me, so like when I put slide the handlebars on the top here, it'll won't have to sand too much. But yeah, looks pretty good. Places where it was brazed at look like they covered with paint really nice. This looks good. All right, so this is a inline front fork. I mentioned that in my earlier videos. And what that means is that these three posts right here are all in line with each other. So this would be correct from 1945 and older to 36. So in 1946, they decided to offset it a little bit. The center one moved a little bit. Henceforth, the term offset. This is considered inline. So this front end is correct for my 1940 UH. It would work on any 1945 through all the way back to 36 bikes. So yeah, looks like we're ready to put this thing together. So that'll be the next step. Getting this thing all put back into like a sub-assembly. So it makes it easy to put on the frame when that gets all fixed up and ready. So, well, stay tuned as we go into the next step and putting this thing back together. All right, so here we are. We got this laid out. We're about ready to start putting this front end together here. So I got a shop manual there for reference on how to put it together. I got this print as well, and I have a torque spec chart I can use for reference on the nuts and bolts I got to use to tighten up with. Because the book doesn't really go into detail about how many foot-pounds to torque something to, so I'm going to go by what the size and stuff of the fasteners I'm using, and then use that chart as a reference. So I got pretty much it all laid out here, so I think we're ready to get started. So stay tuned. All right, so we're going to start working on putting this Springer front end together now. Now that it's been sitting long enough for the paint to cure and everything, and we're ready to start compressing the springs and stuff and do all that cool stuff. So we got all the parts laid out here that we need. Got our guide rods, nuts to hold it on. We got our guide rod bushings. We have our top spring retainers sitting here, and our chrome acorn nuts for the top. And then we have our rocker tabs here, and then we have our rockers. And what else we got? We got our the nuts are all scattered around here. Okay, so there's the nuts to hold the rockers on. Some tools. We're gonna end up using our front axle to help compress this thing. So stay tuned here and watch what happens. All right, so we're gonna start off by putting the guide rods in the spring fork here. We're going to be using red Loctite. And the reason for that is because we don't want these nuts coming loose ever down here. I've seen it to where some bikes, they've even welded these nuts on so they don't come loose. So I don't really want to do that. So we're going to just put it together like the kind of like the book shows, and we're going to use Loctite. Alright, so this is a machined nut. So we're going to make sure we put the machined washer type side out in towards the fork part. And these are tapered rods. So when we start turning this nut, it'll pull itself in and tighten itself up. So let's see what happens here. Alright, so going through the manual here, it doesn't really talk about the actual torque spec here. It talks about like tight and a little bit farther than tight. Those kind of terms. So I got a torque setting chart here. So this is a 3/8 24 nut, and it's a heat treated nut, so it's probably most likely a grade 8 somewhere in there. So it's saying that, seeing how it's got the red Loctite on it, so it'd be considered oiled, I guess, maybe. So somewhere between 45 to 50 foot-pounds is what we're going to go ahead and go with. Alright, we got it set for 40. Let's see what that feels like.
Peeling paint.
Alright, there it is.
That's 30.
That was 30?
Yeah. That's 40. That's only 10 more pounds.
There we go. Alright, on to the next one here. So we're going to work on, put a little bit of taste of grease on these guide rod bushings.
So it starts.
This is like a ball and socket kind of a thing. So this sits inside here, and it's got to be able to kind of move around when this thing is doing its shocking thing when it's riding, because it's going to tilt a little bit because this front rod kind of tilts forward and reverse when it bumps. So this has got to, it's metal on metal, so we just put a little bit of grease on there so it has a nice starting assembly grease, and then it has its own grease holes in there, so which gets to the inside and the outside. So
Eventually it would get grease, but this way it's starting.
And then yeah, so anyways, we'll pop them in here. See, make sure they get some lube in there. All right. All right, so we put some grease on here. So it has some nice assembly lube there, so when it first starts to go together, it's got some pre-lube, you know, from both rods.
Not much, just a taste.
Just a little bit, because then we go to actually grease the front end the proper way. It'll do its job and get where it needs to be. But this is all gonna be hidden behind springs. So this is like the time to really get it good, because we won't be able to get in there again without like a needle or something. All right. So stay tuned. All right. So next we'll put the springs on. We're going to start with the buffer springs. Slide them on here. They kind of like lock onto the base here on the spring fork. And then we put the actual springs on there. Big ones. I'm not sure if there's a fancy name for them, but recoil springs.
Recoil or rebound.
Alright, so then we're ready to move on to putting this in onto the rigid fork. Alright, stay tuned here. So we're putting a towel on here so we can protect this thing so it doesn't like scratch or any of that kind of stuff. We go to assemble this. Alright, so we just line this up in there, lock them up onto their perches. Alright, put the guide rod bushings in. They kind of like go into their little recessed area there. Alright. Now, there's been lots of different ways to assemble this thing, but I think we're going to use like a ratchet strap and use the axle and put the rockers and stuff on to help pull the axle in. So these big twins, the rockers go to the outside. There we go. We'll just mock it up and put a nut here on the inside for now. We'll have to take these back off and put these tabs and lock tabs and stuff in later. So yeah, because people replace just these.
Well, yeah, because see, this is just going to be squeezed up and it'll be straighter.
And then yeah, it'll be in where it needs to be when it's done. So all right. Yeah, it was kind of fighting me there. So we'll put this through here.
Really? Hold it. What the hell wrench is it?
I don't remember which one it was.
You don't have any of them out. Got a little too tight. I just want them kind of.
Yeah, so it can flex or rotate, move, you know. All right, so the nut, yep. Then the castle nut. Don't need to worry about the spacer. All right, next we're gonna hook up the ratchet strap. All right, so we got the ratchet strap hooked up. So we're hooking it through the axle here. We put a rod through here, a solid piece of rod that's gonna pull here. It's a hardened rod.
Hardened real bit.
Because it's real bit. So let's see what happens here. It should go together. I mean, this is a nice heavy duty ratchet strap. So, and we just got to compress these springs down to here so I can slide these ones on, these ones here on, and these down to here. So we got to compress it down to this. And then at that moment, I'll run these retaining nuts on. So stay tuned here. All right, so we got it compressed. Now we're gonna run these springs in. They're kind of a bugger to put in because they're curved a little bit, so they're anti-rattle. It's kind of, they decided to do this style with that. This big twin front end and
You
the.
want the hump up or down?
I don't think it matters much.
Let's put them
So-
away from the front.
because the VL springs had like a spring retainer thing in there. So we're gonna put some Loctite on here.
We are.
And then we'll tighten these down. Now we got to run these in a ways. Then we put the acorn nuts in and seat them. Then we back these up onto the acorn nut to lock it. According to some stuff I read in the Palmer book and in other people doing it. So
Now you want Loctite on them acorns?
I don't know.
Probably not.
I mean, it don't matter, but yeah, we could probably clean it off and
Or most of it off.
get most of it. And we don't really want it like doused in it. And
Might
just
need
to hold
take
it.
Might need to take it off sometime.
Yeah.
For some reason.
So now we'll put these acorn nuts on until they don't go on no more. So running these nuts in, retaining nut in, and compressing the spring, and then I run this acorn nut till it bottoms out on that bolt, that guide rod. Then tighten it. Alright, then this one. Alright, then we back this one up onto the acorn nut.
I don't think you got.
I think that's the right one. 1/8 inch. If you can turn it. And then lock it.
Okay. Back it up. I gotta turn this over here. Okay.
Alright, there we go. Now we're going to just release this ratchet strap.
Just pull it one notch. Bring it back a little. Okay, move it one notch. Pull it. Bring it back two. There you go.
Alright, so according to the print here, this is the original print out of a parts book that I photocopied off, and so it looks like the one with 3 tabs right here for the big twin. And anyways, it goes to the rear. This would be considered the rear rocker. So, and then the one with 2 notches goes to the front one right here like that. So now we put the nuts on. Nuts go on a certain way. They got like an outside and an inside. The curved edge goes to the outside, and of course this is a machine style one, so it has the built-in washer there. Of course that goes towards the clip here. Now the book doesn't talk about any torque specs either, so I don't know what to do here with that tightening, but I'll try to use some common sense here and not over torque it. A lot of this stuff goes together easier said than done, so this wasn't so bad putting this thing together. So almost done here now. And then the last nut here. So according to the Palmer book, the actual what they called here, these guide rocker studs, they're supposed to be cadmium plated, and then we have this bolt here gets cadmium plated, and this is a 41 style spacer for the fender. The 40 and older ones actually were smooth across here. So, but this is what came with the kit, so I ended up using it. It's not such a big deal that this thing's out. This is a 40 that it's not quite right, but anyway, these Zerks are cadmium plated finish. Yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and tighten these down. So stay tuned. I'll just get it tight and then line up a flat.
It's getting really tight.
Okay, how's that one down here? Well, you missed that one, but then now we can gauge this one. Yeah. Okay, then we can fold this over and lock it on both of them.
Yep. I need to get a screwdriver in there first.
There we go.
That's whole stud's moving.
Hmm.
There it is. Yeah.
All right, got that one just about done. Got locked. We got to bend this one down here over. They'll be able to move on to their side. So stay tuned. There we go. Now we just do the same thing to the side over here. So stay tuned here. All right, so then just tighten these down.
Yeah, it's got to pull in quite a ways. Oh, bring the foot, yeah. Your paper there, you might want to get that out of there.
Oh. Okay.
Okay, got it?
Yeah, I got hold of it. All right, lines up.
There we go. We got any of the, oh, this one did. But where's the other one over here?
It's like the back side down here.
If you want them equal, maybe
Yeah, but
this one is, no, not anywhere close. This one is here.
That's probably okay. Cool. Now we just got the back one to do,
Yeah.
right?
Yep. This one tight yet?
Well, this one doesn't. It's just got a spacer on there. Oh, hold on. It's just stuff in the way here. Hold the board. All right, I got it. I thought now I got it. Jesus, everything's in the way here. Wow.
There it is.
All right, got it. Then we're gonna fold it back over.
I want to make sure these are nice and tight up against. There we go.
All right, there we go. Well, this pretty much is done. Until next we'll put some we'll put the grease zerks in and grease it up. I got one on each side here to do. I got some around here somewhere. So stay tuned. All right, so I'm just gonna put these grease zerks in here, grease fittings, whatever term you want to use. One on each side for each of the guide rod bushings. All right, just crank them down without like destroying them or destroying the paint at all. They ain't holding nothing or going anywhere, so they're tapered fitting, so they just need to have enough tightness to keep them from going anywhere. All right, well, this pretty much ends this. We got the axle back on here for later purposes, and yeah, this turned out really good. It's quite the deal putting them together. So next time we'll be messing with this front end. We'll be mounting it to the bike. We'll be mounting the horn assembly on here. We'll be putting the ride control on. We'll be mounting the headlight, handlebars. Getting exciting here soon. So stay tuned till next time. Hope you enjoyed this.